With the flick of her pen, she writes,
Chapter 11. We're out of grilled cheese. Calvin took a menu from the little shelf by the door. They were instructed to seat themselves by what seemed to be a very small person dressed as a teddy bear. Your drink order? Another teddy bear costumed server appeared almost magically behind Calvin as the couple seated themselves at the nearest tablescape by the door. There was a light breeze blowing through the tiny windows at each table, and the server placed a ramekin of tasty berries and a dollop of cream in a tiny saucer before them. We both want the grilled cheese and honey sandwich, Calvin said, looking at Rosalie to be sure she hadn't changed her mind. Yum, yes, grilled cheese, she said, almost tasting the crunchy toasted bread and melty cheese. I'm sorry, the server bear person said in a whisper. We're out of grilled cheese. Calvin and Rosalie's mood dropped slightly. Oh, bummer, they both said almost simultaneously. Today's special is cream of mountain mushroom soup and a tasty chef-prepared grilled mushroom and Gruyere toasty bread. Calvin looked at Rosalie, and they both wondered about all the mushrooms on the menu that day. I'm not sure about the soup, Calvin said, but the sandwich sounds good. I'll take that. Rosalie continued to peruse the menu. I'll have the toasted strawberry and brie sandwich. And she also hesitated about the soup. Gazpacho, please. She closed the menu and handed it to the server. The server growled a little and checked the menu. He made a mental note of the order and bowed slightly before stepping away. Another server in a similar bear costume appeared and placed a teapot and several china cups and saucers on the table. Our special tea for special people, the server said. Honey, rosemary, and lavender, the bear said. Would you like me to pour? Sure, Rosalie said, noticing this server's hands were very furry looking. Thank you. The bear server slowly poured their tea and then slipped quietly away into the back of the cabin. This place is very interesting, Calvin said, looking around. Just then a big commotion went up from several tables away. A large man in hiking attire stood up, mouthed some very unkind obscenities to his table partner, and then picked up his soup bowl and threw it against the wall. The table partner also mouthed some very disagreeable words and then picked up their sandwich, wrapping it in a napkin, and stormed out of the cabin. The large man wiped his forehead and looked around. I'm sorry, he said to anyone listening. I don't know what came over me. It was a most disconcerting feeling. The bear server came over, bringing a towel, a mop, and the bill. The towel was for the table, the mop for the man, and the bill contained a sum for the broken and cherished china bowl. The bear server looked most disconcerted and handed the mop to the man. The man started sopping up the soup and then handed the bear server his credit card. After all the commotion died down and the man had paid and left, the bear server appeared again with the tray of goodies for the couple. Wow, that was weird, Calvin said, eyeing the tray and his sandwich. Yeah, Rosalie said, still feeling strange about everything happening at the moment. But once her strawberry and brie sandwich was placed before her, she forgot all about the incident. Yum, crunchy, she said, biting into the toasty sandwich. Yeah, mine too, Calvin said, savoring the taste of the freshly foraged mushrooms. All is right in the world, the couple thought at the same time. And it's true. It was in their world. But as another soup bowl smashed against the floor of the cabin, both Rosalie and Calvin figured that something else was going on here. Chapter 12. Are you a man or a bear? Well, said Calvin, eyeing the bear servers and the mess of cream of mountain mushroom soup puddles around the cabin. Bears growled and china was swept, and the bear server who'd been helping Calvin and Rosalie shooed out the last patron and placed a close sign on the door. Rosalie finished her tea as the server placed the check on the table. Again she noticed a very furry paw scoop up her soup bowl and teacup and saucer. She wanted to be polite, but she just couldn't help herself any longer. "Excuse me," Rosalie placed her hand on the bear server's paw. "I have somewhat of a personal question." The bear server looked at her with keen eyes, and Rosalie noticed the intense stare and furry countenance around the mouth. She cleared her throat. "Are you a person or a bear?" she said with a slight smile. The server released its paw/hand and moved out of the light and into the shadows of the tea room area. Another server appeared holding the credit card machine. "I didn't mean to upset anyone," she said, sorry if she'd made the server uncomfortable. "Let's just pay and we'll be on our way," Calvin said, holding out his card and tapping it on the machine. Gling, gling! The machine chimed in approval, and the bear server handed Calvin a bag of something. "Thank you," Calvin said, handing the bag to Rosalie. "Any idea why everyone's so upset?" Calvin asked the server. The bear/man just grunted slightly and pointed at the bag. He stood very near the couple and was pointing towards the door. "Ah, yes, you've closed," Calvin said, helping Rosalie to her feet. "We'll be out of your way then." The couple thanked the server at the door for a delicious meal and headed outside into the warmth of the afternoon. "What's in the bag?" he said as Calvin opened the top and peered inside. He pulled out a note and a ramekin. The note very keenly scrolled onto a napkin said, "Something is very, very wrong here in Whistling Gulch. We've been infiltrated too. Can't talk here, but this should give you a head start. Meet me in the forbidden zone of the woods tonight after dark. Come disguised. Your every move is being watched." Rosalie handed the note to Calvin and looked at the ramekin. Scrolled on a little sticker and taped to the bowl it said, "Cream of mountain mushroom soup. Never eat this," along with a very sketchy drawing of a skull and crossbones. "Well, this is quite interesting," they both said, almost at the same time. Chapter 13. The Night is Long. Molly, Greer, and Catomancy sat sunning themselves on the patio of the suite. It seemed like an awfully long time since Rosalie and Calvin had left for lunch. But before they could worry their little magical minds, the door swung open and the pair stepped inside. Rosalie placed the bag from the Hidden Foot Tavern on the counter of the small convenience kitchen, and Calvin slipped his shoes off and headed towards the bedroom. "I'm bushed, and I'll need all my wits about me tonight in the forest," he said, removing his jacket and stretching with a yawn. "Do you really think someone is going to meet us tonight?" she said, still unsure about the man versus bear question. "You know it," Calvin said with surety, "and we're going to find out why anyone would be so heavily intent on watching our every move." He pulled the down coverlet off the bed and settled into the luxury sheets and furry blanket. "Can you put the fire on?" he asked Rosalie to flip the switch on the fancy fireplace. "Sure," she said, hitting the auto start button and watching the kindling come to life. "I still don't know," Rosalie said, disconcerted about the soup and the ramekin. "I'm going to take a walk around the retreat and see what I can see." "Oh, be careful," Calvin said with a yawn. "Wake me up when you get back so we can plan for tonight." "Will do," she said, kissing him on the cheek and pulling the furry blanket around him. She put on her jacket with the fluffy lining inside and placed the suspect soup in the small fridge. Her first stop the lobby and some hot chocolate. Catomancy whined as the suite door closed, and Molly decided it was time for them to plan as well. There was no way they were letting their friends go into the forest of forbidden bears without backup. It was time to get the Rose of San Juan Capistrano ready for its mission. And who knows, maybe by this time tomorrow, they could have this whole silly mystery all wrapped up.